Today, we're going to shake our bright and cheerful tail feathers, so stick around. Hello, colorists. Welcome to Pencil Stash, a weekly show all about coloring. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to get all the new content, and be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying my videos. While I get today's page all taped out, I have just a few things that I wanted to share with you. The first is a shameless plug. I'm super excited to announce that my boyfriend, Anthony, the talent and brains behind Orion the Hunter Photography, has opened an Etsy shop. It's called the Nebula Camera Shop, and he sells all kinds of awesome handmade camera accessories such as leather camera straps, paracord wrist straps, and neck straps, and all can be ordered in whatever custom color combo you'd like. So, with the holidays coming up, this could be a great gift idea for the photography lover in your life. So, visit the Nebula Camera Shop on Etsy to check him out. I'll put a link in the description to make it easier for you. Second thing I wanted to mention is just a reminder that I still have my giveaway drawing open for Marion Parsons' Barn Quilts coloring book. It's still open until November 30th. So if you haven't entered yet, go back to that Barn Quilts video. There's a link in the description to it that you can follow that will take you right to the website where you can enter. I've got 3 books to give away, and I would love it if you were one of them. All right, last announcement. And this one makes me giddy. I feel like an official YouTuber now, as I have received my first fan art. This delightful masterpiece was sent to me by my biggest fan, Sophia, age 8, who colors along with her family to my videos. Look at the awesome attention to detail in this piece. I, for one, am super impressed and humbled, and as a great big thank you to Sophia, I sent her my finished witch hat page from a few weeks ago. Thank you again, Sophia. You are the best. All right, back to our page here. Now, I was feeling like it was time to take a little break from the romantic country coloring books, and I wanted to do something a little different. So I chose this Peacock page from Color the Rainforest by Marty Woods. It's a very abstract piece, as you'll notice. The peacock body is there, but the tail feathers are a combo of feather shapes, fan shapes, leaf shapes. All sorts of artistic liberties were taken here, and I just love it. Now, we could go the super predictable route and color him in with blues and greens, very true peacock colors, and for the most part, we are going to do that, but I thought it would be really fun to throw in some unexpected yellows to brighten this page up a little bit. So I've pulled a number of pencils from the Prismacolor Premier set that we'll be using today, and I'll be drawing mainly from this stash. Starting right off, there's a series of these long kind of tendril leaf stems on the page, and we're going to color all of them with a sloppy application of this jasmine yellow color. Now, I say a sloppy application because I don't want you to put the jasmine on the entire surface of this tendril. I want you to leave some areas white so that we can go back in later with another color and get a true representation of that color where the white is, so that it'll be the jasmine and this color as well as the layered color that we're going to be putting on top of the jasmine. And some of these are hidden along the page, so try to take a quick look to cover them all before you move on so that you don't have to go back in later and try to remember what colors you used. You all know what I'm talking about. We've all been there before. Now we'll go in with the other color that I mentioned, which will be Pale Sage. Now this partners very well with Jasmine as they're both soft and pale representations of our yellow and our green family. You'll apply this all along those tendrils, filling in both the white spaces that you left before, as well as covering the jasmine layer with your pale sage. And I'm even going to leave some areas strictly jasmine just to get 3 color variations here. And this is a great way to get lots of impact into a relatively small area to color. Now we'll do the peacock's beak. And I'm going to be bouncing around the page a little bit. It's kind of my way. I wish I was one of those people that could just start in one corner and just kind of work my way, finished all the way over to the other corner, but alas, I am not. I'm a bouncer. So I'll be bouncing around a little bit, especially if I'm kind of still mulling over how I'll approach a certain area. Back to Pale Sage, placing this just around the eye area. And just on the front of the breast of our bird. Now I'll go back around the eye area with chartreuse. And I'm not going on top of the pale sage very much, just kind of feathering into that area to create a smooth transition. And I'll do exactly the same thing with the chartreuse down our bird's chest. Now, as you can tell, I really like this chartreuse color. There's only about 2 inches left of it, and it's a color that really does a lot for me. It lends itself to a lot of different applications. I like to use it for its brightness when it's placed next to other bright colors, and I also like to use it beneath other colors to amp up their brightness too. Moving over to these leaf shapes. I'll demonstrate on this cluster here, but you'll want to use the same approach on the others across the page as well. I'm just kind of doing this for demonstration purposes. And we're going to use the chartreuse just about a quarter an inch or so of space right up next to the stem on either side of our leaf. And those are the open face leaves, but you'll also do the same approach on these half leaves or these sort of closed leaf shapes. And there's a bunch on this page, so as you go through, you're going to find a ton. So it's a lot easier if you do all one color on all the leaves before switching to the next color. And we're attempting to get a gradient effect on these leaves, so the next stage will be lime peel. We're going to put this down another quarter of an inch or so, remembering to feather lightly into the chartreuse area in order to create a smooth transition. The next stage will be peacock green, which is a big jump in color from lime peel to this deep, rich peacock green. So your feathering and your light application of this color will be crucial here. Just do me a favor and leave the very edge of your leaves open for our last color. Any guesses what it'll be? This peacock green is great, and I'd like to bring it even further down into our leaf. So I'm going to do that in a little bit more of a subtle way by following the veining or the creases on each leaf. And I've chosen to line kind of that south side of each line for lack of a better description, for consistency. And don't worry about being perfect here, as we're going to use our blender later. Now the very, very edge of our leaf will be in Dranthone Blue, another big jump. And I'm just going to take my time here and feather lightly downwards and try to resist the urge to just put in one long stroke along the edge. I'm picking up my peacock green again, just briefly, as I'm going to be going back in and further refining some of these transition areas. Now we'll take the colorless blender pencil out. Definitely one of my favorite tools, so you might want to pick one of these up if you don't have it already. And I'm just going to start at the blue and just kind of work my way down towards the lighter end of the spectrum and try to pull some color down and then back up. So I'm just sort of using back and forth strokes here to push and pull these colors together. And you'll see how the lighter chartreuse color is benefiting from the lime peel, and the lime peel is benefiting from the peacock, and so on. And you'll do the same technique across all of the other similarly shaped leaves on the page, and you'll end up with this. All right, time for more yellow. Let's use sunburst yellow on these fins at the back of our bird. And I'm just going in with an all-over layer of this color for now. With goldenrod, I'll line each bottom edge as though the fin next to it were casting a shadow. With jasmine, I'll go over the areas between those two previously laid down colors, the sunburst and the goldenrod, and I'm using jasmine also as my blender. I'm just going back and forth over where those two areas meet to create a smoother transition. Now, as I mentioned before, sometimes I like to put down a layer of initial color that will later get covered up, and that's sort of what I did here. I put down a layer of chartreuse and of lime peel, and now I'm going back in with Peacock blue. And the beautiful thing about this is that when you're done, you'll still get the impression of those bright colors beneath the finished layer. Real quick, I'm just going to place this around the eye area too. And now I'm going to follow this up with some Indranthone blue, which we'll be using a lot today. It's a great, rich peacock blue color. And I'm going to line the rest of the breast here as well, covering up whatever was left white. Right now for that technique that I kind of talked about a moment ago, I'm going to go over all of this chest area with my peacock blue, layering on top of all the colors that are already down to create new colors and also to blend them together. See how you can still see a hint of that bright green along the edge here? This is what I'm going for. Now we'll use our blender to help along some of these areas. I love this area right behind the bird. This kind of tuft, like hair wave-like texture thing that's going on. I'm going to use a few different blues on this. First, Mediterranean blue, and we're going to color every other section, as some of the lines that the artist has given us sort of create a natural partition between themselves. Then we'll color the other partitioned areas with muted turquoise. To blend, use a layer of cloud blue over the entire area. Now with Copenhagen blue, another of my favorites, we'll go over all the lines that the artist has given us and make sure you have a nice sharp tip for this step and that you don't use too hard a pressure so that you keep breaking your tip. And go over it once again with cloud blue, just a light layer just to kind of soften up some of those lines that we just put down, those those dark Copenhagen lines. Onto the feathers that are shaped like this. These are very, very interestingly shaped, and they kind of remind me of real peacock feathers. So we're going to use a real peacock feather to influence our color and our textural decisions on all the feathers with this shape. So first we're going to add a circle or a teardrop shape into the center with Copenhagen. And then we'll follow that up with aquamarine around the rest of this sort of center lined area. Then the border will be goldenrod, and the last border will be a sloppy application of light aqua. And again, a sloppy application, so don't be afraid to leave some areas white here, as it will actually add to the effect. Then take your peacock green and draw in some tight parallel lines to simulate those sort of linear feather strands on a real peacock feather. And voila! Moving on to the fish scale shapes on his neck. I'll be doing those in peacock green. And you'll notice I'm leaving just a small crescent shape at the bottom of each scale white. And I love fish scale shapes, so I do this to draw attention to this shape. I could color it kind of similarly or in a pattern, but I want that contrast so that this pattern doesn't get lost in all of the color. Not sure what to call this next shape, sort of a fan of flower petals, and right now we're going to color each of the petals in cloud blue just to start. Then we'll go back in with Indranthone blue to line the areas where there would be some shadow at the overlap. And we'll use our blender to help us out, so just use light pressure here as it'll be easier to blend and transition later. Now we'll tackle these wing feathers. And I really kind of struggled with this area, to be honest with you. Each little feather is drawn differently than its neighbor. So I kind of had to ask myself, like, should I color them all similarly just to kind of make them more cohesive? Should I make each one unique? And I ultimately went with the latter, since I knew that our peacock here is very unique himself. So I'm not going to go through each one, but I tried to spread out the colors and technique used to really make each one of these feathers a little different from each other, but still cohesive enough that it would look like it still belonged on the same bird. And a great way to do that is to pull from the same color palette that I used everywhere else on this page. There's a lot of blue around this area here, so this shell shape on this back will be green, starting with gray-green to keep it nice and light. Then I'll follow it up with apple green, which is nice and bright, and I'll just apply this at the top of each level of the shell. Moving on to the neck, we'll put in a bunch of greens here to really make it stand out from all the colors around it. And the flower crown on his head will get an all-over layer of gray-green. Again, nice and light, just to contrast with the bright colors around it, make it stand out a little bit. Then we'll line it with cobalt turquoise. To finish this off, we're going to add some finishing touches of embellishment with our white Uniposca matte paint pen in white. And I've got two sizes now, a 1.3 millimeter fine tip and a 2.5 millimeter medium tip that I'm going to kind of trade off using. And I'm going to start with the fine tip, just adding in some layers and some dots in some areas that I really want to make stand out. And I love embellishing with these markers because I can do it right over top of my dark colored pencil layers. And I know that some people have had some good luck with maybe some white gel pens for this technique as well, but I haven't had much luck with those. So if there's any gel pens that you guys would recommend that, just really show up nicely on top of the dark colored pencil layers, let me know down in the comments. I would love your suggestions. And here he is, finished in all his glory. With as much bright color and all this embellishment, this little guy is going to have no problem at all attracting the ladies. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. It helps new folks find my channel. And don't forget those items that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Check out the Nebula camera shop on Etsy for handcrafted camera straps, and don't forget to enter the drawing for the Barn Quilts coloring book. To subscribe to PencilStash, hit that circle in the center of your screen, and if you want to watch more videos of my coloring tutorials, you can either follow the video link on your screen or visit my channel to pick one of your own. Thanks again for watching today, guys. I will see you next time.